So news came out yesterday here. In fact, I'm going to pull up the article. IBF ruling forces Triller to scrap plan to hold Teofimo Lopez George Kambosos fight in Australia. This is from Mike Coppinger from ESPN. I'm just going to go ahead and read the article and put the link down below in the description box. I'm going to skim through it for you guys. Of course, you guys know how to read. The IBF ruled Monday that Triller must stage the undisputed lightweight championship fight between Teofimo and George Kambosos in a location that doesn't require quarantine, according to the decision obtained by ESPN. That means Triller's plan to reschedule an event October the 17th in Sydney, Australia, is scrapped. So, let me tell you a little bit about the fighters. George Kambosos, IBF number one contender, mandatory for that IBF strap. Now, Teofimo doesn't have to fight him, but that's a whole different, story. But Teofimo would be losing that IBF title. So it looks like the fight is going to go ahead, but there's still some hurdles to get over. So George Kambosos 19-0 with 10 KOs. Last time he fought was October the 31st of 2020. So by the time he steps back into the ring, if the fight were to take place at the very deadline of October the 17th, it would be approaching a year layoff. Last fight was against Lee Selby, Mickey Bay before that, or Richard Pena. Basically, he's gotten more exposure over the last year just trying to get in the ring with Teofimo than he has actually fighting opponents. Teofimo Lopez, 16-0 with 12 KOs, WBC franchise champion, WBA Super, IBF, WBO, and Ring Magazine champion. Last fight was against Vasil Lomachenko. Vasil Lomachenko heavily rumored to be facing Richard Comey in December of this year, a date that was supposed to be Lomachenko, from what we've learned, and Bob Arum pretty much spilled the beans. Lopez versus Lomachenko 2, if Teofimo were to have defeated George Kambosos when the fight was supposed to originally take place or whatever. He fought Richard Comey also. Masayoshi Nakatani, who Lomachenko, by the way, fought in his comeback fight, had surgery and all. And Teofimo's last fight was a couple of weeks before Kambosos last year on the 17th. So just so happened it would be 1 year by the time he gets into the ring. So where we are right now, I think the fight's going to happen. Here's a quote from Triller's co-founder, Ryan Kavanaugh, from the ESPN article. At the end of the day, we still don't think George has to be the one that's inconvenienced, Triller co-founder Ryan Kavanaugh told ESPN, adding that he would explore Las Vegas as a potential site for the fight. We're going to talk to him and see if we can make it work around his schedule. He didn't see his kids for 16 weeks, and his wife is having a baby now. If we can make it work, we will. In the event, this is just going back to the article, in the event Triller fails to submit contracts by then, and contracts have to be submitted by and due by August the 24th, then the fight will go to the next highest bidder. Eddie Hearn's Matchroom bid $3.5 million. Lopez's promoter Top Rank came in third with $2.3 million. Triller won the rights with, just a little over $6 million. Now, Bob Arum and Top Rank have already went on the record to say that they'll have a special date from ESPN if turns out Triller defaults on the bid. They're just waiting to see what's going on in that fight. I'm guessing would definitely take place before the deadline, and it's looking like to me that Top Rank already has a plan in place for for this fight if Triller were to default. So I'm gonna bring in my colleague here, Big J. Big J, your thoughts so far? Right now we are August the 10th. The fight was supposed to originally happen June the what? It was June, right? Or what's
6th?
Yeah, June
the 6th.
So go ahead, take it away.
Oh, it was the Saturday before. Actually, I think it was June the 5th, because it was the Saturday before the day before Mayweather slapped around bloody Logan Paul, whatever his name was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and then it all just fell apart. It got pushed back to the 19th. Teofimo got COVID, and it's just been a shit fight since then. And personally, I blame Triller for all this shit. They have done nothing but shoot themselves in the foot since the second they put that bid in, because they overpaid for a fight that's not worth $3 million for two guys that no one knows about and B, very little people care about. Let's be honest. No one cares about Tiafimo because all he does is piss people off because I'm sick of him. And George is a nobody in Australia and overseas. He's probably more well-known overseas than what he is in Australia. That would be a fair comment because no one in this country knows who he is. Hardcore boxing fans do, but, you know, if your name's not Zoo, you're not going to get promoted in this country for boxing. Simple as that. There, I said it. So...
Yeah, here's another quote from the article. The IBF will consider giving Triller extra time to hold an event before the end of the year if a request is filed. Also, this is also what it says, which is interesting. The postponement cost Triller nearly $5 million, sources said. Money that included travel expenses and other logistical and marketing costs that can't be recouped since the event insurance isn't protected against the coronavirus. Hoping to offset some of the loss, Triller thought it would capitalize on the popularity of boxing in Australia. So they lost $5 million just by postponing the fight. Remember, that card was supposed to feature Vitor Belfort, Lord knows I forgot versus who. Now Vitor Belfort and Oscar De La Hoya are fighting on September 11th. This thing is just a whole. It's all fucked. You know, they're trying to find.
That's.
Go.
No, you go ahead because I'll make my point. No, you go. You finish your point. I'll make mine.
For this $6 million that they owe the fighters. Tiafimo's getting, you know, close to 4, and Kambosos close to 2, and that makes them in fact he's getting about 2.1, something like that. That makes both of these fighters in the top 10 of highest paid for the year of 2021. You know, and now we're reading that they lost $5 million just by canceling it. I'm guessing they thought that, oh, okay, well, insurance will cover it, and turns out the insurance didn't cover COVID. You know, which is wait a minute. The fight got postponed originally because of Teofimo's Lopez's, you know, COVID.
No, it didn't. No, they originally got postponed because of the Mayweather fight.
Yeah, and then they postponed it again because of COVID. They moved the date.
Correct. They did it to themselves.
It's all fucked.
They did it to themselves. Exactly. And now I'm hearing all these reports that, oh, we could get 60,000 people in Australia for this. Bull fucking shit. You're not going to get 60,000 Australians to turn up for a fight like that unless you spent 3 to 4 months, maybe even 6, promoting the asshole out of it.
Yeah.
All right? And they'd have to do it themselves because Main Event, you'd have to hire Main Event to do all that for them. Because in Australia, there's only one big show, Main Event, that's it.
Yeah.
And who does Main Event promote ram down our throats?
Yeah. Tim Zoo, and just so happens, in another video we're going to talk about later on this week, they're charging you guys $30 Main Event for Andrew Maloney, the Andrew Maloney card. I just found that out during the Zoom call yesterday. So yeah, you know, they would need Main Event, but everything, I'm looking at all these numbers, you know, it's just it's all not looking good. You know, they should just get it out of the way, you know, and just have the fight on the September card, you know, with Oscar De La Hoya.
Cut their losses and move on.
Yeah, but both the fighters, are they in camp? You know, have they been maintaining their weight? Everything, it's all, you know, I don't even know who this favors anymore. I would think that everything going on would favor George. Because Teofimo's been the one that's been, you know, like having some issues with the weight. And even though he wants to fight Lomachenko, because Bob Arum already said they met in his living room and hashed out the deal. So, you know, it's, you know, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, damn, how could a new promotional company or entity like mess up this bad to where now they're not going to remake that 6. I don't know who they think they are. I wouldn't go as far to say that, you know, Teofimo is not really known. Well, actually, in the mainstream, for real, Teofimo is not really known. And he messed up his momentum because, you know, look how long since he's fought Lomachenko. You know, when you have that type of momentum after beating a fighter like Lomachenko, becoming undisputed, you need to be out there in 6 months. You know, unless they should have never moved the date. They should have never did it.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying the whole time. And then Teofimo is completely stopped his momentum by what's been going on. Gets COVID, goes to Italy. What?
Yeah, no, that was fishy.
What? Yeah, and now what is he doing? Because all he's doing is all George does is put up training videos every day. You follow him on Twitter, you follow him on Facebook. He's hitting heavy bag, he's running, he's doing this. He's just training. That's all he's doing. He's got nothing else to do. Yeah, and so he's doing the right thing. So this fight now favors George because Lord knows what Teofimo is doing.
Yeah.
George is training.
Yeah, here is some more from the article. Kambosos, who lives in Sydney, trained in Miami area for 16 weeks. His wife is due in mid-September. So if he again holds camp in the U.S., he could miss the birth of his third child. If Kambosos, 28, decides to forego a career high payday of $2.1 million, the IBF would order Lopez and Mexico's Isaac Cruz. The IBF. Oh wait, we already read that part. This is what the manager of Teofimo, Lopez, has said. We're open to working this out with Triller the whole time. They haven't shown much interest in it. If that's the ruling from the IBF, then we'll abide by the IBF. So, I'm starting to wonder, does Triller even, like after this, are they just going to default on the bid? I'm thinking they may default and be like, you know what, fuck this shit, because they can't get it in Australia.
No, Sydney today had its worst cases of COVID since the whole pandemic. It's only 356, but that's the worst for that state for the whole 18 months or however long this has been going on for. So you ain't getting into Sydney.
And right now, with the way the boxing schedule is and the way that, here in the States, our fall is starting to really, really look busy. In fact, I look at this week coming up with fights like Rigo versus Casemiro over on Showtime, the Maloney brothers Maloney versus Franco versus Maloney 3 over on ESPN, up and coming WBO 147-pound contender Virgil Ortiz Jr. versus Maglias Kavalaskis. These are fights that are on all at the same time, and we can expect more of this, as boxing goes on, into September and October. And I'm wondering, for one, they're going to have to find a venue, also be able to find a date, a time where they're not going to compete with other pay-per-views. So, for example, this fight, they have until October the 17th to make this fight. If the fight takes place on October the 17th, guess what? Just a week before was the pay-per-view with Fury versus Wilder 3. And then you're going to have Canelo coming back a month later. So, listen, I don't see it. And, I don't think they have enough to be able to put on this card. Because remember, eventually, at first, it was supposed to be Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. And it was like, all right, we got an extra $6 million to throw around. Now they're trying to build the whole card off of Lopez versus Kambosos, and I just don't think they can do it. I think that this is going to get defaulted. And it's not known yet if Matchroom, second in line, will pick up the fight. Eddie Hearn, I haven't heard anything about it, but we do know for sure that Top Rank is ready. Closing thoughts?
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
I don't think it's going to happen. Here's a crazy idea. Have it midweek like Australia does. There's an idea.
They can do it, but at the same time, we're in the school year, here in the States. I don't
Australia
think
Australia does it every time.
Yeah, but over here in the States, it's shunned upon, especially when you have even though football takes place on the weekends, football season, NBA season, NHL, the October is the baseball playoffs. So a weekday, I don't know, but it's Triller. They could get inventive, as they, just recently they had a concert, a versus concert with Michael Hunter and Chris Algieri on the card, before the concert, so they can get creative. But right now, everything's just looking like a loss. Like it's just looking like a loss.
I'm surprised that the IBF hasn't stripped Teofimo and gone, no, we're sick and tired of this bullshit.
Well, money talks. So, they get a big chunk of sanctioning fee from this. They probably never thought this fight would bid for that high anyway.
Yeah, that's perfectly true. But, they've got to put it on the De La Hoya, Belford undercards. It's the only thing they've got left. Or Bob's going to take it and, Top Rank will maybe, I don't think Eddie will have time for it. I mean, what's Eddie's schedule looking like? He's pretty busy. I don't think he's going to have time to...
He's got fights, but he hasn't said anything about it. So, I don't know. We'll see. But it's a shame that George has to go through this, especially, when the fact that he's about to have a baby. Like, that's messed up. And, he'll have to choose. It's looking like he's going to have to choose, like, no matter what happens, unless the fight happens in, December, looks like he's going to have to choose between, you know?
No, it has
see
to
this
happen
big child
before
being
October
born.
17th or they default. So it's not going to happen in December.
Yeah.
So Bob, do we know what date Bob's got for September?
No,
What actual date?
no, he didn't say anything about a date, but he does says, you know, like ESPN, the network that were broadcasted, they have something, you know, that they'll work out something.
Ah, fair enough.
So
Yeah,
you have
okay.
to think
Yeah,
that Tiafimo knows and his team knows. I wonder if word got back to George and they know, but they just can't talk about it.
oh, who knows? I mean, I think poor old George has been completely left out in the loop about a whole lot of this. He's probably the last to know what's going on.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so yeah, choosing between being at, sports people do it all the time. They choose between, playing a grand final and going to the birth of their baby. I think one bloke at the AFL is doing it now. He has to make the choice. I wouldn't have that choice, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But 2.1 million,
Yeah, bro. I mean, that's money that, I mean, him and his kids, they can go, rent a yacht or something, for a weekend.
I wouldn't waste your money doing that. I'd put it towards their education.
Yeah, true. But I'm just saying, like, he can go and relax and enjoy the time with a child and vacation, what I'm saying, after he gets the money. Win or loss. That's life-changing money. Money that, he probably hasn't made all the way up until this point with all the fights combined. And probably will never get a payday like that again. George Kambosos is making $2 million. Listen, fighters, they're not making that money in this day and age, especially with COVID and quarantine. And that's guaranteed.
Man, and that's the pay-per-view thing's dying too, so obviously the money must go down.
Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah, but listen, we gotta wrap up. Tell them where to follow you on Twitter.
Old mate Big J.
All right, and of course you see my Twitter right here, T Street Contra. The next update, I'm guessing the next update is when there's going to be an official announcement and date and venue and who the promoter is going to be on the fight. Until then, there's really nothing left to talk about. It is now 8 weeks until the 17th, so something has to be done now because you still want to make sure that these fighters, even if they've been training all year, still were like, all right, the fight is happening. Here, 8-week training camp. Boom, let's start over. We know the exact date. Please take your time out, like the video, subscribe. This is T Street Controversy and Big J with FightView360.com.